All right. Now, oh shit, I almost had the wrong paper out. Because this is a Naruto fight today. I'm doing these versus battles. I just feel like doing them. So I'm doing them. And I'm showing my face more because, I have nothing to hide as far as, like, I ain't scared to show myself. But, besides that, you ain't here for that. You're here for the fight between Itachi and Nagato. What my take is on that. I have two scenarios for you. I have the scenario where they fight when they're alive, and I have the scenario when they fight as zombies, Edo Tensei form. And then in the alive form, you might have questions about that. Like, how are these people acting? They're acting as how they act in the anime. So, like, when Itachi was fighting against Sasuke, we're using that Itachi. And we're using the Nagato that fought against Naruto and Jiraiya. Nagato's basically controlling those pains. We understand that. We've watched the anime. You guys are Naruto fans. You already know. I have my own opinion about that. As far as, dishing out these, bodies to, like, go and do that. So you have, like, more hands to do shit with when you're going about attacking Till Beast. I think that's what his thinking was going into it. But I think ultimately he should have just kept all those powers to himself and not created those 6 bodies. Because I think if one has the Renegon, right, and they doing what they do, they can do all that without sending their chakra out there and dispersing it, if you know what I mean. So then they're more effective with the Renegon. Because they can then do all those abilities themselves. They ain't worried about, oh, I have to send my chakra over here to make that person move, and then I have to make that body move, and I have to, it ain't all like that, But in this first scenario, it's like that because that's how it was. Nagato versus Itachi, alive. Strength goes to Nagato. Nagato has numbers. He has, and then typically I don't like to say that, but Itachi is really not physically stronger than Nagato, even with what he has at his disposal. Itachi's a great ninja, but strength is not given to him. Nagato got speed. You seen what he was able to make the David Path do against the Ninetales. He was running on water. We didn't see, now we know Itachi can stand on water and he can run on water, but he was running away from the Ninetales and doing things like that. Itachi, a fight with him fighting the Ninetales is going to look different. His speed's not going to be like that. I know that Nagato's speed's better. And I mean, as far as, he's using his jutsus to control his pains, because this is how it's going to be playing out in the first scenario. He has pain, and he's making pain do all the, heavy lifting from a distance. And actually, he has an easier time than when he fought against Naruto, believe it or not. Some people think not, but I'm not no fool, because the Renegon's a thing, right? Durability goes to Nagato. Now, some of these, pains are going to be able to be defeated. Itachi's going to see him, boom, I'm hitting him with Amaterasu. He's going to see how the one can regenerate the other ones. And he's like, okay, let me, like, now that I know that that's a thing, and that's going to lead into the intelligence, but a little bit. But I'm saying he's going to know that, and then they're going to be whatever. But the Deva Path is not some punk bitch. He puts more chakra into the Deva Path than into the other paths. We just know this because that's how it was against Naruto. It's gonna be no different against Itachi. He ain't gonna do anything different. And in doing that, a fight, like, I don't think Itachi, he has hands, he's nice, but not against pain. Durability, he's going to be coughing up blood and all kinds of shit. He's going to be all scuffed up, Durability goes to Nagato. Nagato, he has those bodies take the pain for him. Endurance goes to Nagato. Now, Itachi's enduring pain as well, but Nagato has 6 bodies to control. Um, it's gonna come to a point where he's like, okay, well, I'll put all the power into, but that's all like people don't understand, which they should. People who are delusional about Itachi, Nagato still has all that. He endure. I'm expending my chakra out there. I'm frustrated because certain things ain't working my way. He'll be a little bit frustrated, but he's like expending his chakra outward. And he still would be if he was doing it himself, right? But it's like he's sitting down, he has chakra rods in his back. He's no different than Itachi. He's dying, man. You know, but he's gonna like live through the fight. He actually will live through the fight. He'll endure the pain and live through the fight. Tachi, not so much. He's using, and he will be using his Mangekyo Sharingan. Don't get it fucked up. If he's pulling it out against weaker characters, he's using it against Nagato, for sure. But Itachi has intelligence. He's smart. Like I said before, he's gonna know about those. He's gonna see how these pains work. One summons, one uses weapons. The one sucks away chakra. The other one can like gather information, like snatch your soul. The other one can bring people back to life, and then the David Path can use universal pull, almighty push, and then also he can use planetary devastation. But he's gonna see all this play out, and he's gonna like try to shut this shit down the best he can. He's gonna have plans developing as things are developing in front of him, to try to shut this shit down the best he can. Again, he's against the Renegade. Experience goes to Nagato. I guess if you wanted to, you could make a case for Itachi, but Nagato's a little bit older than Itachi. He's been through things too. He's fought against people before he was an Akatsuki member. Of course, Itachi has since he's been a youngin' and shit. You can make an argument for Itachi there if you wanted to, but I'm giving it to Nagato. Close skills, I'm giving it to Nagato on that. He has all those pains. They'll run up on Itachi. They'll give him the fucking hand. He'll have some of them standing back and observing, but he'll be doing shit like that. I will give Itachi the range skills, and like you don't have to if you don't want to, but I am. He has Genjutsu, which won't work, to great degrees. He can confuse them a little bit. He can use Amaterasu, which is a range skill. He can summon the Susanoo clone, or the Susanoo, and he will be summoning that shit against Pain. There's no way he's not. He's doing that. He's throwing the goddamn whatever the fuck that move is. I can't think about it right now. Like I don't know what it's called off the top of my head, but he throws that shuriken in that state, and he can fuck them up with that. And Nagato has all kind of moves too. Range skills. You don't even have to like. He's basically using a range skill by having the pains moving around. That's true, but I'm just gonna give it to him. He could still, Itachi could fuck them up from a distance and then like pick them off like that if he wanted to. But it's like I said, Nagato definitely has the close skills. These pains move up on him, they grab his ass. They'll figure out if he's hiding in the bushes or not. Because Itachi's not a dumbass fighter is what I'm basically saying. He has different ways he can try to handle this, and he's trying to. Recoup goes to Nagato. He can, bring people back from the dead. He ain't gonna bring himself back from the dead, but he's gonna recover better than Itachi. Itachi's losing sight in his eyes. Once his eyes go blind, he's done. He can't do shit in a fight after that. He can't see who the fuck he's fighting anymore. Again, this is a live Itachi. Hacks go to Nagato. He has the Renegade over Sharingan. I don't have to say any more than that. He has all those moves that he puts inside of each pain, and then they go off. The David path is gonna be the one that like really pushes Itachi to basically death. Environment, I give it to Nagato because once he uses the planetary devastation move, Itachi won't be able to get out of that. Because you gotta remember, and this is gonna lead into the second scenario, but he had help from Naruto and Killer Bee, two tail beasts, to destroy the planetary devastation move, which is like basically his best technique, or one of the best techniques he can use. And he's gonna have the David Path use that to, finish him off completely. I'll just use that, get him the fuck out of the way. He wants to pull out his Susanoo like he did against his brother, whatever. Boom, he's done. And by that, I'm gonna say Nagato wins high diff because he's still like, expending a lot of energy doing that. He has the chakra rods in his back. Like his main body can do some things, but it can't do some things. But like, listen up. Now the second scenario is when they're reanimated, right? Both of them are reanimated. They're fighting in the fourth Great Ninja War area. In the first scenario, they were fighting in the Katsuki Hideout. But in this scenario, they're fighting out in the open in the fourth Great Ninja War. Just them two fighting, alright? There's no fucking Naruto, no Killer Bee. We have strength going to Nagato. Now that Nagato has no like puppets he has to control, he can like really stand on business for himself. We are seeing what he was doing to Naruto and Killer Bee. He had them sealed. Like, it was him doing that. He summoned his animals and shit, and he was like, hey, I'm going to pull out the 9 tails and the 8 tails right now. That was him doing that shit by himself. Because you got to remember that Itachi was making plans to get off of that reanimation jutsu. They both have decent recoup in this form. Speed goes to Nagato. He was able to run up on them. Itachi's running up on, KCM Naruto, but, Chakramo Naruto, he didn't have his powers on, down right, but he still was doing that. I know. So you could give that to Itachi if you want to, Itachi fans. I'm just saying, Itachi fans, you love him. But I still think that Nagato is faster. He was faster than him in the live state is no different. This guy is actually more capable because, and what I believe, he ain't sending his energy out to these puppets, right? So now he can do everything himself. If I feel like, pulling out this move, I can do it. I can do it. It's like, why am I going to have something else to do it when I can do it? And he actually does have the power to fucking do it himself. He don't need to do that shit where he's like, oh, these puppets, you'll do this, you'll do that. Fuck that. I'll do it all my fucking self. And that's what he does. Durability goes to Nagato. He's just a tougher guy. Especially now that he don't have those fucking rods in his back and he's like, basically draining his chakra away by expending it out towards those bodies, right? Endurance goes to Itachi. I only say that because he was in that fight with Kabuto. And if he's in a long drawn-out fight with Nagato, which probably will, because, again, Itachi's not a dumbass, which I got Itachi in endurance, and I got him for intelligence still, too. He's not a dumbass ninja. I'm not saying he's dumb. He knows how to analyze the situation and then, like, make, um, he knows how to combat what he sees, or tries to, make a plan for it. That's why he was telling Naruto and Killer Bee when he was fighting, hey, I need you guys' help to destroy this planetary devastation. I'm basically saying all this to say, you probably already know where I'm going with this, but I have to keep going. Experience goes to Nagato. Like I said before, you can give it to Itachi. Itachi's been doing shit since he was a boy. But Nagato has too, He's learned from Jiraiya. He's, learned by doing what he does. You know, Tachi learned, how to be a ninja in the Hidden Leaf Village, and then he, dipped and became a Katsuki member. You know, but who was eating calls to who? I'm just saying. Close skills go to Nagato. Close skills, Nagato. You don't have to worry. He'll put the hands on you. If he wasn't afraid to go grab Naruto and Killer B, he ain't afraid to go grab Itachi. Um, Range skills, I'm giving it to Nagato this time. Actually, I'll give it to Itachi still, because even in that fight with Naruto and Killer B, we seen that he was able to hit Nagato with the Amaterasu, and it was doing some damage. But then he stopped fucking around, and he got to using his moves. You could give it to either of them there, really, because he has like I said, Almighty Push. He can shoot his chakra rods. You know, Tachi has genjutsus he can use. He can use that basic crow genjutsu that does work. But again, he's fighting against the Renegade. Recoup goes to Nagato, and that one you can give it to like either one of them too, because they're both undead. They're both Edo Tensei brought back to life. Recoup, you can give to either one. Hacks go to Nagato. He can use all those moves. He can summon animals. He can take information out of your mind. He can snatch your soul. He can um, summon weapons from his arm. He can, like I said, he can shoot out Almighty Push, Universal Pool. He has the planetary devastation that he uses. And he can break himself out of Genjutsu if he needs to. It's stacked in Nagato's favor. Nagato environment, like again, like with the planetary devastation, if you know how it works, because you've seen it and shit. If you're a Naruto fan around here, he basically grabs the ground and everything around, and like it's all attracted to basically a black hole, is what I like to describe it as, and all the like ground and everything, buildings, anything in the fucking area is getting attracted to that black hole. He's gonna be sucked up in there, and he can't do shit about it. Like he don't have enough attack power with like anything he has. Susanoo with the forget about it. He has that Tosca blade, but he has nobody else there, y'all. You gotta remember, this is a one-on-one fight now. This ain't. He has Naruto and Killer B in weight. He don't have the pains anymore. I say this to say that Nagato wins this fight mid-diff. Nagato was not no punk. He could have if he didn't lose his shit, he could have went after these tail beasts by himself when he was alive. But he saw it as a way, and this is just me thinking. This was never stated in the anime to my knowledge, but we have 9 tail beasts that we have to go get. I can split them up. I have 6 paths, because he's taking these tail beasts seriously. I understand that we have to, acquire these tail beasts. I have 6 bodies that I, send out there. But if he really had confidence in himself, he could have done that shit himself and been effective at it too. Like just look at Madara. Don't look at Obito and what he was doing, because they basically both failed. They all failed, but Madara and Nagato, when he's not, giving out his energy to that, to have these puppets move around. Madara didn't do that shit. He didn't do that shit at all. He had the Rinnegan. He was making a mess of things. I'm saying personally, if I had the Rinnegan or anybody in the show had the Rinnegan, I would not use that move. I'd keep the techniques for me to use. I'm gonna use those moves. I'm gonna, take your soul. I'm gonna, reanimate people that you've hurt from my side, if I have anybody on my side, I'm gonna, you know, use all those techniques for myself. I don't need a puppet to go out there and do that shit for me. You know, but in certain situations, I guess it's like needed or whatever. But I say that's to say, Itachi's great and all as a character or whatever for some people. Nagato is also one of those characters who, was a good person, manipulated because of like the pain he felt and things. Hence why he named his like things pain too. The pain. But good fight, and just Nagato got it better. Better dojutsu. I do think the guy's more durable. Itachi's smart, but when you have those type of powers with the Rinnegan, it's hard to combat all that. And he'll make a good attempt, but Nagato wins. High diff in the live fight, and then in the undead fight, as they're zombies, mid diff, Nagato wins. But be cool, call in the corner, and let me know what you think in the comment section.